Oh. Did someone just say objection? It wasn't Von Karma. Wait, but that means... No. Edgeworth? Your Honor, I object to your judgment. What do you mean? I'm not innocent at all. As we have heard, Yanni Yogi killed Robert Hammond in revenge. But revenge for what? Nick, Edgeworth is trying to confess. He's going to say he's guilty. He's going to tell them he was the murderer in the DL6 incident. He's going to tell them he killed his own dad. Uh-oh, what do I do? Objection! The judgment has already been passed. I object to Edgeworth's outburst. Well, I object again. Oh, didn't something like this happen yesterday too? I believe a certain witness raised an objection after a guilty verdict was passed. That would be Larry. We must hear this new statement. We must hear Miles Edgeworth. He's right. We have a duty to hear Mr. Edgeworth out. For 15 years, I have had a recurring dream. A nightmare. It's only a nightmare. That's what I told myself. But now I know it wasn't a dream. Yanni Yogi wasn't the killer. You mean, in the incident where your father died? From the distance of the shot, it wasn't suicide either. Everything was as clear as day. The murderer, the criminal in the DL6 incident, it was me. Your Honor, I confess my guilt. I am guilty for DL6, the statute of limitations of which ends today. The culprit is me, even though I'm pointing at somebody else. Order! Order! This is certainly unexpected. The defendant, declared innocent, is confessing to a different crime. A crime for which the statute of limitation runs out today. I'm not really sure how we should deal with this. Bah! It's obvious. We hold a trial, right here, right now. We tried this man for his crime of 15 years ago. That sounds ridiculous. I think I would like to take a 5-minute recess. During this time, I will consider the appropriate course of action to take. Court is adjourned. Can you like do that? Are you allowed to do that? Like, I understand the whole statute of limitations thing, where after a certain time, you know, if somebody's really, really old, and it's been like 50 years since they committed the crime when they were like, you know, 30, then you're not just gonna go jail an old man for a crime that he did so long ago. I get that idea, but, like, are you allowed to... They have time slots in court, right? Like, you can't just be like, yeah, we're gonna take up the next guy's time slot because some guy's court thing ends today. In fact, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of proceedings and it would just have to get dropped at this point, right? You've only got one day. You can't just start it on the same day, right? Although then again, we've seen that in the Ace Attorney series so far, where something like a crime happens and they get tried on the day. So anyway, I'm sorry, Wright. I've just wasted all of your effort. Mr. Edgeworth, I just don't believe it, pal. I mean, you kill your dad? I didn't want to believe it myself, Detective. But it's the truth. I deserve to be punished. Murder is murder, no matter what the circumstances. This is crazy. Just crazy. Nick? What are you doing? Huh? Oh, I was just reading through the court record once more. I'm getting my case ready. Your case? For what? Huh? Isn't it obvious? I'm going to prove that Miles Edgeworth is innocent. What are you talking about, pal? He just admitted to it. He confessed that he did it. In court. I'm sorry, Edgeworth. But I don't believe your nightmare. What? It's it's just a dream. It's not real. The truth is right here in this court record. Even though I don't know it, probably. In any case, tighten your belts. The real fight is just beginning. I'll prove you're innocent. Trust me. Right. Then, I would like to resume our trial. Judge, Miles Edgeworth has admitted his own guilt. He's confessed his crime. Let us begin by hearing his testimony. Then, through though pointless, let the defense do their cross-examining. Statute of limitations on the DL6 incident runs out today. Though it's unconventional for me, I'd like to run this one by the book. I see. Does the defense have any objections? No, Your Honor. Von Karma, you knew this was going to happen from the very beginning, didn't you? Very well. Will Miles Edgeworth take the stand? Will the witness state his name and profession? Miles Edgeworth. I'm a prosecuting attorney. Mr. Edgeworth, you were a prosecuting attorney. 15 years ago, you mistakenly killed your father, Gregory Edgeworth. Is this correct? It is correct. Then testify about this matter to the court. When Edgeworth was telling me about his dream yesterday, I noticed something. One detail didn't quite fit. That will be the key, but only if I can get it to work. Please, please. That day, I'd gone to the courtroom to observe one of my father's trials. As we went to leave, an earthquake struck, trapping us in the elevator. My father and Mr. Yogi lost their composure and began to argue. Just then, something heavy fell at my feet. I picked it up and threw it at Mr. Yogi. I wanted them to stop fighting. A moment later, there was a single gunshot, then a scream. It was a terrible scream. I remember it to this day. That's all. And until now, you thought his memory was a dream? We were stuck in that elevator for 5 hours. The oxygen in the elevator ran out, and I lost my memory of the events. Bah! The same claim Mr. Yogi has made. Very well. Mr. Wright, your cross-examination, please. Yes, Your Honor. So, interestingly enough, we just moved on to a new court case, and like everyone's okay with that. I feel like we're not getting paid enough for this. Anyway, that day I'd gone to the courtroom to observe one of my father's trials. What was the trial your father was involved in on that day? I don't remember things very clearly. Only 2 things. I know my father lost, and Mr. Von Karma was the prosecuting attorney. Mr. Von Karma? You were handling that case. It was 15 years ago. I don't remember the details. That was when Edgeworth pointed out the problem in Von Karma's evidence. As we went to leave, an earthquake struck, trapping us in the elevator. So there were 3 people, including yourself, trapped in that elevator. Yes, myself, my father, and Yanni Yogi. We were fine at first, but then as time passed, no one came to help. My father and Mr. Yogi lost their composure and began to argue. It's gonna be at the end, I'm pretty sure, that we actually debate with. What did you do to them? Or do then? I was a 9-year-old boy at the time. What could I do? I was scared, trembling in the corner. But then, I shot them both. Just then, something heavy fell at my feet. What was it? A pistol. I assume it was the bailiff, Yanni Yogi's. Safety must have come off when it fell from his holster. And you picked it up. What happened next? I picked it up and threw it at Mr. Yogi. I wanted them to stop fighting. I know, I'll throw a gun at them. That'll get them to stop. Did you know it was a pistol when you threw it? I think I knew. I knew it was dangerous. But the air was getting so thick, I panicked. So you're saying that you threw the pistol at Mr. Yogi? I was in a daze. A moment later, there's a single gunshot, then a scream. Don't kids, like, not get in trouble for this sort of thing? Like, this sounds unintentional and entirely an accident. So if I'm not mistaken, I think kids, like, don't get in trouble for this sort of thing, or at the very least they get very light sentences. What happens in a situation like this? That's a good question. Where you try someone years later once they become an adult. Do you try them as an adult or as a child? Because clearly the crime was done as a child. So do you, like, I don't know, send them to a corrections facility for, like, a month or something? Or a therapist? Like, I don't know. That's a good question. I'd like to look that up in a bit and see if I can find anything out about that. Anyway, the gun fired once. Yes. I think after I threw it, I lost consciousness. Since then, they've echoed in my head every day. The gunshot and that horrible scream. The scream. It was a terrible scream. I remember it to this day. To this day? Yes, I can practically hear it now. I doubt it will ever forget that scream as long as I live. It sounded like a scream. There it is. One part of that testimony clearly contradicts the evidence. But I don't know what it means. I'd better find out, and quick. That day I'd gone to the courtroom to... Okay, so this is the beginning. So, let's see. That's interesting. One bullet found in heart. The murder weapon was fired twice. So probably want to come back to that at some point. I just don't know exactly where to hit with this. Maybe? Nope. Does it? It does. I don't see anything contradictory. There's a single gunshot, then we heard a scream. Okay, that's where we press. There we go. Are you sure you only heard one gunshot? Yes, I'm sure of that. But you're pressing awfully hard on it, so I might not be totally sure. I heard the shot and the scream. Then everything faded. I was unconscious until the rescuers came. I see. But that doesn't make sense. Look at this file one more time. This plainly contradicts the witness's testimony. You do enjoy dragging out that file, don't you? I don't accept this evidence, unless you can tell us what page it's on. Alright, hold on. Let me look at the stupid court record again, because I can't remember. Victim data. Which would make sense, I suppose. Look at the victim data in this file. It says it quite plainly. The murder weapon was fired twice. Miles Edgeworth only heard one gunshot. Yet the murder weapon was fired twice. The first shot was the accidental firing when the pistol was thrown. So who fired the remaining shot? Was there perhaps another shooter who fired that second shot? Oh, yes, son. Your Honor, as I'm sure you're aware, this incident occurred 15 years ago. The evidence is dated. Yes, this is why this is a stupid trial to carry out right now. The pistol did fire twice. However, we do not know when that second shot was fired. It might have been fired the day before the incident. There's no proof that the second shot had anything to do with this incident. What? I see, that's stupid, but sure. You do have a point, Mr. Wright. The murder weapon was fired twice, as we've heard. One of those shots was fired by the defendant, a boy at the time. Do you have any proof that the other shot had something to do with the case? Yes. Your Honor, I think I will be able to show you proof. What? I missed part of your statement because I clicked too fast. Now, Mr. Von Karma. Save your surprise for after you've seen the evidence. Very well, Mr. Wright. Show us your proof. Do you have evidence that the second firing of the pistol is related to the incident? I mean, it'd have to do with that picture because he's got shot once, right? But then he also got shot... the window also got shot. I would assume the window's the accidental firing. And unless it ricocheted, potentially in this small space, I don't know. That might be what it comes back with, but we're going to present it anyway. Look at this photograph. This is a photograph of the scene of the crime 15 years ago. I can see that the victim lying there is Gregory Edgeworth, who is definitely not Yanni Yogi, as you stated earlier. This proves the murder weapon was fired twice at the time of the incident. This photo proves it. So, let me get this straight. This photo proves 2 shots were fired. Where? Your Honor, please get a clue. Show the judge the contradiction in the photo. Doesn't like being put up there. It should be obvious. The contradiction is here. I see. A bullet hole in the door. Your Honor, Gregory Edgeworth was killed by a shot from the pistol. Yet there's also a bullet hole in the elevator door. We also know that the murder weapon was fired twice. Thus, someone other than Edgeworth fired that second shot. Order! Order! Mr. Wright, what are you driving at? It's simple, Your Honor. At the time of the incident, 2 shots were fired. One went into Gregory Edgeworth's heart. The other hit the elevator door. Remember that the defendant lost consciousness after the shot he fired rang out. In conclusion, we must agree that the second shot was fired by someone else. Mr. Wright? But who could that someone else be? Maybe it's Yanni Yogi, the murderer, of course. I knew I should have stepped in before your wild fantasies got out of hand. Mr. Wright, look once more at the DL6 incident case file. Look closely. Try the case summary page. The case summary? That's on page 1. Look what is written there. Not a single clue was found on the scene. Is a bullet in his heart not considered a clue? Of course, then again, that's separate from the file, and we got that from Karma, which I don't think Karma knows we actually have at this point. If the pistol had indeed been fired 2 times, then the other bullet would have been discovered on the scene. He does have a point. That second bullet has never been found. Why? Because the second bullet does not exist. The bullet that claimed Gregory Edgeworth's life was the one fired by his own son. That is the truth of this matter. The whole truth. It was undoubtedly something else that made that bullet hole in the door. Perhaps someone shot the other way. Order! I will have order! Mr. Wright has proven one thing to us quite clearly. That the murder weapon was fired twice at the time of the incident. However, as Mr. Von Karma says, the second bullet fired was not found. It is highly unlikely that the police merely overlooked the second bullet. So, all we have is the single bullet fired. I'm afraid I have to discount the defense's claim. I praise the judge for his wisdom in this matter. How did all this happen? I don't believe that the second bullet didn't exist. Was I wrong? Have I been wrong about this whole incident? What are you doing, Nick? Why aren't you raising an objection? Because I'm an idiot. I'm sorry, Maya. What? It looks like I was wrong. Nick? If the second bullet wasn't there, then all my conjectures are for nothing. No. But you said you'd do it, Nick. You said you'd get Edgeworth declared innocent. I'm sorry. It's just, when I saw the photograph, I thought that 2 shots had been fired. I was so certain of it. I thought I'd won. I thought there was another person. Someone else who fired the killing shot. But now, I was wrong to think it could be that simple. This case has stood unsolved for 15 years. Nick. Well, seems we finally cleared up this incident. Only one bullet was found at the scene of the crime. That shot was fired by Miles Edgeworth. Precisely. I would like to ask one thing of Miles Edgeworth before passing my verdict. Have you been paying attention to the trial so far? Yes, Your Honor. Silence, phone, no vibrating. Do you have any objections? No. No, I do not. So you killed your father. But that was not your intention? Yes, I did. Oh no. He's confessing. Very well. The statute of limitations on the murder of Gregory Edgeworth runs out today. Therefore, I must pronounce the verdict on the defendant today, right here. Right now. What if we just, didn't? It's like we're gonna call a recess until tomorrow. And then Von Karma freaks out. And then it's like, oh, I guess the statute of limitations is up. Can't do it. Indeed. Does anyone have any objections? I've been here before. It's just like my first day in court. This always happens to me. I know there's so many things I should be saying, but my mind's gone blank. I can't find the words. Mr. Wright? No objections. Every lead I thought I had has been squashed. This is really the end. Edgeworth, I'm sorry. I closed my eyes. What was it that I had been doing all this time? Was it my whole life leading up to today? But now that I'm here, I know I failed. Mia, I'm sorry. Not yet. Huh? Maya? What? Object. Your only weapon. Are you okay, Nick? What's happening to me? I have to think. I think you're having a seizure. Wait, don't think. Act. Objection! Your Honor. I object. Mr. Wright, what grounds do you object, Oof. Nick? I don't know. His case is perfect. Oh no. Gah. It must exist. The second bullet. What? What did you just say? Nothing? The second bullet must exist? But where? Someone took it. It seems waiting is not going to produce us any answers from Mr. Wright. Slaps table. That's my answer. Wait, Your Honor. I was actually going to do it, and I'm like, wait a second, no, that's going to make a really awful noise. The second bullet, it exists. What? We've just heard proof that it did not exist. I realize that, Your Honor. I'm really grasping here. It's just someone took it from the scene of the crime. That's what happened. They planned this out 15 years ago for this to happen exactly on this day. But who? The murderer. The murderer? Then tell us, just who is this murderer? I'm still thinking about that one. So the criminal took the second bullet. Why would he? Because he wanted to cover up his crime, clearly? Huh? First of all, how would he have found it? It's not easy to find a stray bullet, Mr. Wright. Was there some pressing need for the murderer to search for that bullet? The murderer had to find it. Of course there was a need. That's why he took it. Bah, what possible reason could he have had? Well, the reason the murderer took the bullet away from the scene with him is the bullet would have been proof. Maybe he thought that the bullet would be used as proof? Proof? It was a special bullet, so he took it with him. If that was the case, then he would have taken the bullet from inside Gregory as well. That would have been pretty messy. Huh? Why would he only take one of the two shots fired? Okay, so the one we have is the one in Gregory. We're talking about the one that was shot at the door. Why would he only take one of the two shots fired? Oh, right. Mr. Wright, you're an idiot. Oh, this isn't going so well. I kind of feel like I should save. I'm getting failing, what am I trying to say? I'm very clearly getting the idea that I'm going to mess this up. The murderer didn't need it. Why would the murderer have spent the time to look for that stray bullet? I haven't got a clue. What's wrong, Mr. Wright? The murderer had no reason to take that bullet. You don't want to admit it, but it's true. Had to take it. Had to take it? The murderer? What does that mean? You're thinking too normal. Think crazy. Don't think why the bullet was taken. Think why the bullet had to be taken. Mr. Wright? Yes, Your Honor. I have no idea what I'm doing. Well, the murderer had no intention of taking the bullet from the scene. But, the murderer had to take that bullet. Had to, Mr. Wright? What do you mean? Well, for instance, what? Maybe the bullet, hit the murderer? The bullet hit the murderer? You know, maybe on his fingertips? Just saying, for instance? I mean, if it hit you, you would have to take it with you, wouldn't you? It's not like you could perform surgery right there. You know? Wait a second. I was just talking off the top of my head, but what if that's really what happened? Let me get this straight. So at the time of the murderer himself was shot, and he left with the second bullet still inside, thus leaving only one bullet at the scene of the crime. Yes. I guess that's how it would work, yes. But there's a problem with that. The other two people rescued from that elevator, Miles Edgeworth and Yanni Yogi, were both unharmed. So that would mean the murderer came from outside, yes. Intriguing. The two men fight inside the elevator. trying to stop them. The boy picks up the pistol at his feet and throws it. The pistol discharges, and the bullet goes through the elevator door and hits the murderer outside conveniently. The boy loses consciousness. Then the murderer opens the elevator door and sees the men inside. Mr. Wright, you're truly the most unpredictable defense attorney I've ever known. I throw out your case because it's stupid. I can tell you're grasping. I cannot deny the possibility of what you say. That's stupid, Your Honor. What are you saying? Deny it, deny it. No one involved in the incident was wounded. There was no murderer. No one was wounded at the time of the incident. He's right. I can't think of anyone. Hey, Nick. Huh? I just thought of something really crazy. You mean like what I just said? Crazy. Remember what Mr. Grossberg said yesterday? Gregory Edgeworth dealt a blow to his perfect trial record. Wow. Must have been quite a shock for Von Karma. He took a vacation for several months after that, you see. Yes, an unusual event for the man. That was the first and the last vacation he's taken in many years of his prosecuting. What if Von Karma didn't take that vacation because of shock, but took it because he was injured? Which would mean, it could only mean that one thing. He was the murderer in the DL6 incident. He was the man who shot Gregory Edgeworth. It was Von Karma. Oh man. Something wrong, Mr. Wright? You seem dazed. No, Your Honor. Well, you have indicated the possibility that the murderer came from outside. Can you give us the name of your suspect? Uh-oh. Should I come out and say it now?